per gallon. 500,000 people with no safe drinking water. That is what we faced just a few months ago, and the 2015 algae season will be here soon.
But how much do we know about how bad the algae bloom will be this year? Meteorologist Ryan Weekman was on the front lines of the Toledo water crisis last year, and tonight he uses his expertise to show us what we know now about what Lake Erie will look like this summer.
These images on Toledo television won't soon be forgotten. They're now a part of Glass City history. That was in August, but weather events months before in spring and winter have ties to how severe a bloom on Lake Erie can be. There are many factors that affect size, location of the algae bloom, such as heavy rain runoff, wind patterns, and wastewater discharge. Runoff from farm fields during heavy rain drive up phosphorus and other nutrients needed for a large algae bloom. Last year, we had several heavy rain events that caused flooding. This year, only minimal flooding on local rivers. That's a good start. But we're only halfway through the March to July timeframe where we see most of the ingredients pass down the Maumee River. So where do we head from here?
What could happen?
We asked a local expert.
If it doesn't rain from here on out, then we're probably going to have a pretty mild bloom. If we have average rainfall, we're going to have probably a very similar bloom to 2013 and 2014, which were both just above average.
Dr. Laura Johnson is one of the research scientists at the National Center for Water Quality Research in Tiffin, Ohio. Each day, the lab takes dozens of river samples and tests them for key ingredients that make harmful algae blooms grow on Lake Erie. That sampling goes directly into algae bloom forecasts for the lake. Those are made by NOAA. But that forecast doesn't come out until July. So we're taking an early look directly at the numbers coming out of the Maumee River. Here's what we found. Phosphorus, it's down from last year. Compare the 114 metric tons this year to the 210 from last year. So where do those numbers leave us?
In reality, right now, we're perfectly an average. We're at an average bloom year if we compared it to the past, 10 or 15 years. It seems like if we move later in the season, we have a little bit better chance of getting a rain event that's not going to have as much runoff.
We have the tools here in the Storm Track Weather Center to track exactly what those temperatures are doing. We can either select a point in the western basin of the lake, like this one, showing the temperature about 54 degrees, or we can actually take an average of the entire western basin from the islands to Maumee Bay and show you this early in the season, the average temperature is around 51 degrees. Typically, it needs to get up to around 80 to really see that algae starting to form. There's two other factors that are just unpredictable at this point. Last year, an east wind kept the algae bottled up in Maumee Bay for several days in early August. We, of course, have the tools as well to track these wind patterns days in advance, but not months in advance to figure out exactly where that algae is going to be bottled up this year. Also, keep in mind, you might remember this, a record flood in Detroit led to a massive purge of the city's sewer system into the lake, which dumped huge amounts of phosphorus into Lake Erie. When those storms arrive, we can track the rainfall totals to give you early warning next time. For WTOL 11, I'm meteorologist Ryan Weekman.
Interesting stuff, and we learn a little more as we go through it, and a lot of legislation moving
Working
through,
on that for next week. We're taking a look at, great job by Ryan. We can do this. He's a great guy. He's kind of our, algae nerd, our weather nerd. He's so good at this.
He gets excited about it, he's passionate about it, and he understands it.
And but what has been done in Columbus and Washington and the city of Toledo, and I'm going to show you all of that coming up Wednesday of next week.
Looking forward to it.
Some encouraging things going on.